Hello, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. The ancient Chinese military general Sun Tzu is considered to be the intellectual genius of all modern-day military war strategies. His ideas are taught in all military war colleges across the land, and his tactics and strategies are the central premise of modern-day warfare. The primary idea that is driven home by Sun Tzu is to win the war before troops set foot on the ground. The idea is to use subversive tactics against one's opponent before the fighting starts. In other words, win the war before the war even begins. And I will quote Sun Tzu now. Quote, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting," unquote, Sun Tzu. And the question is, has Sun Tzu's tactics been used against our own people? Has there been a military war strategy used against the USA without us even knowing it? Our country was once the strongest society in the world, with a vibrant industrial base, a strong per capita income, a healthy family unit. And today, we see all of that deteriorating. How did this happen? Was our political class hijacked against us? Were they employed by some outside foreign element with the specific purpose of ruining our societies? Are our politicians traitors to the American people? I will quote Sun Tzu again for the answer to that question. And here is Sun Tzu's answer to that question. Quote, "In war, the way to avoid what is strong," from the top again. Again, quote, "In war, the way is to avoid what is strong and strike what is weak," unquote, Sun Tzu. Right there, you have it. You have the central premise, the central tactic, the central strategy of your elected political class for the past 100 years to subvert our societies against us. The enemy has infiltrated our own systems and our own elected leaders we now need to question on a moral basis. Let's look at the facts. 50 years ago, America was a manufacturing juggernaut. And today we cannot even get a simple t-shirt made in America. How did this happen? We are told to look to the American worker, that they are unskilled, that they are uneducated, that they are out of touch. But is that the case? Is it the American worker, or is the political class shifting attention away from their crimes? That is the question. The Chinese pegged their currency to the American dollar, ensuring that regardless of how competitive American-made products were, the overseas product was always the better buy. It was always the more competitive product. And it did not matter how good our American workers achieved, what they achieved in the marketplace, they would always be outbid by the Chinese. And this created the exodus of the American industry. And what our political class did is initiated a re-entry tax so that as investments were leaving our country, should a business ever decide to return to America, they would be hit with a stiff penalty fine. This law ensured that businesses would stay overseas. This was one nail in the coffin of American industry put in place by your elected leaders. And while our industrial sector was being bludgeoned to death, the political class created the NAFTA free trade agreement to pour salt in the wounds, to hurt us even more, to completely finish us off. They ensured that American manufacturing would be dead forever, and the decline of the American urban center, the decline of the American cities would start. Our once great urban centers began their steady decline, turning our city neighborhoods from productive states to welfare states, from healthy neighborhoods to crime-ridden neighborhoods. When you remove somebody's ability to make an income, the one alternative a lot of people look to is crime. That was done on purpose. It is time to quit pointing our fingers at one another and start pointing our fingers at the elected leaders who did this, at the people that set the foundations of our societies. They then turned their daggers toward the American family unit, which was the central unit keeping America intact. And this was done by none other than Lyndon Baines Johnson, the godfather of the Texas Democrats, the man that the Texas Democrats to this day eulogize, LBJ. That's their guy. What he would do is he would reward fatherless homes with a welfare check, ensuring that daddies would leave their families behind. You would get rewarded, you get paid. And this particularly hit our urban centers and our minority communities in the urban centers. And it wasn't happenstance. It wasn't a mishap. It was a targeted hit at a specific people. There was a crime and there was a victim. And the victim was our American minorities put on us by the elected leaders who call us the racists all day long. They constantly keep their finger pointed at you, so you never look at their crimes. They did it, and it's time to start accusing them. But today is a new day. May we be so bold as to dream again. Are we on the brink of 1,000 years of peace? Are we on the brink of seeing that the best is yet to come? I am going to put my money down on the American people. I'm betting on the American people. I'm telling you to today, take your vitamins, eat your Wheaties, do your exercises, and stay healthy, because what's in store for us is going to be incredible. President Trump has proposed the novel idea of building 10 new American cities. Today, the American deep state, your government, owns an incredibly large percentage of American lands. It's 1/3 of all of our lands are owned by the federal government. 1/3. And what President Trump is proposing is taking a percentage of that land and liberating it for the American family, for new cities to be developed. It's an incredible time to be an American. Not only is he doing that, he intends to initiate a strategic manufacturing initiative specifically targeted at today's blighted centers, with the intent of restoring our once grand urban centers, our forgotten lands, into something great again. Now, we've had politicians say this over and over and again, but President Trump is about business, and I'm going to prove it to you right now, because in 2017, he showed up at the Harley-Davidson headquarters and he announced the resurgence of American manufacturing. And when he did that, the Harley executives said that they had never heard anyone even say such a thing before. All of our political class, all they did was berate the American working class. President Trump empowered the American working class. He announced that manufacturing would come back, and it started. A slow, steady beat, a slow, steady turnaround of our American centers. Cities like Youngstown, Ohio, like Gary, Indiana, like East St. Louis, Illinois, began to see a resurgence. These towns had been absolutely bludgeoned by the American political class, but President Trump was bringing a heartbeat back to the patient. And so with that being said, these are incredible times. And the questions before you, are we in front of some of the greatest times known to man? We're going to get to that question a lot more on today's show. This is the Chris Heasley Show, and on this show, we will bring you all the ideas, the content, the information that you need to take back your village, your borough, your township, your school district, your city, your county, our great Texas counties, and the great state of Texas. But there's an obligation that comes with this show, and the obligation is on you to get involved at the local level, because change happens at the local level. Sam Adams said we need 1,000 brush fires for liberty, and we need brush fires at the local level. We need activism at the local in order to embrace this change. President Trump is setting us up for great things, but he cannot do it alone. And we need to be the blocking back for the running back. We need to make sure he can punch these ideas through, and that we can see these 10 new cities come to fruition, and we can see our cities like Beaumont, Texas, like East St. Louis, Illinois, like Compton, California. We can see these cities become great again. And with that being said, we have an incredible show today. I'm so excited for today's show. On today's show, we have Julie Hunt with Urban Conservatives of America. Julie, how are you doing today?
I'm well, and you?
Good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
And we also have Sean Scott with Urban Conservatives of America.
Yes, sir.
So how are you ladies doing? It's an open floor.
I'm
I'm doing great. It's a great time to be alive. We see the country finally moving in a different direction, one that's good, one that I guess we haven't been on this road, for a very long time. I would say dating back to Lyndon B. Johnson, right? So we see a resurgence of the grassroots, of the American people, the American spirit, of even Christians being involved in politics, right, where we had taken a step back. But no longer are we relying on what the TV tells us, what the media tells us. We know now that we've been lied to for a very long time. And it's our responsibility to find out what is true and to share what is true. So going back to you saying that we have to be involved at the local level, it's our responsibility to be on the ground and get the truth out there, because it's the truth that makes us free.
What do you think, Julie?
I think you both are right. The American people spoke in this last election. Over almost 80 million Americans stated that we wanted Donald J. Trump back in office, because we were not blinded by the lies of the left and the lies of the media, CBS, NBC, ABC, giving us this narrative. They did everything in their power, and they thought that the American people were dumb enough to believe it, but we were not. We are Americans. This is the greatest country. President Trump is the greatest president that we've ever had. He loves the American people. He puts us not only in the room in the deal, but he places us at the head of the table, which is the place of honor. The rest of the political class needs to take a page out of President Trump's book, because President Trump understands that he works for the American people and he puts us first.
Yes.
And so that's what I love about him. He is here to bring back jobs to Americans. He's for every American, not just the minorities, but for the working class Americans. And that's why it is a great time to be alive. It is a great time to be an American.
Yes.
And this is our country, and we are a representative republic. That means that the people are in charge. And now it's time for us to let the political class know in D.C. and at the state and local level that we are in charge, and that if they don't represent our values, we're going to get rid of them.
Okay, so I'm going to push back on you ladies both, okay?
Okay.
So there is a narrative that is happening in Fort Bend County. And myself, this show, there's a group of, I would say, supporters behind me in this show. And we are strict constitutionalists. We are 1776ers. Give me freedom or give me death, liberty or bust. That is our motto. We are no compromise, right?
Right.
We're in it to win it. And those taglines and this conversation that we're having right here, where we're essentially espousing America, freedom,
Yes.
a raw, authentic freedom in America, right? And there's a narrative in Fort Bend County that these ideas are a little bit taboo. They're a little bit too much, that we're the fringe element, that we're the outliers, and that you should, water down the freedom a little bit. You should water down your Texas spirit a little bit, your love of 1776 a little bit. You should water it down a little bit and be more normal. And they say that is the winning strategy in local elections. That if you just water it down a little bit, you're going to win more races. Now, first thing I want to say is I don't know how that idea exists when President Trump is the most authentic,
Yes, he
is. I want to say words that I can't say on air, but he busts chops,
Yes.
He brings it to you. He is, and somehow these people are proposing the idea that while Trump has completely done things that are unimaginable, overturned the apple cart, won this incredible election, but somehow that strategy just isn't the right one. So, what do you think, ladies? Who's right, who's wrong?
Well, President Trump is right. I'll put my money on him every time. If you look at his policies, people get hung up on the fact that they don't like his tweets or they don't like him as a person. the reason I like him as a person, because what you see is what you get. He's very authentic. He's a gracious man. He's humble. He really is. The people that know him best, they can tell you what type of man that he is. But even if you don't know him personally, look at his policies from his first administration. It was the lowest black unemployment. There were more jobs. People could afford to buy a home, their first home. He put America first. And anyone that is not for President Trump, they're not for America.
Right.
He puts us in the room in the deal. And that's why I will put my money on him every time, because he will make sure that the American people, that our values are represented in not only in America, but globally as well.
Yes.
So I would put my money on him. And anyone that's saying anything the opposite is because they're getting kickbacks. They're getting something out of the deal.
Right. Yeah, and I say the proof is in the pudding, right? Trump's message of America First resonated with Americans across the board, whether you were white, black, Mexican, Jewish, Indian, right? Because it's speaking to our core values,
Yes.
And so his message didn't change up. So on the local level, why should our message change up?
Well, I think part of the reason that they push this nonsense is because they want us to lighten up a little bit, because they want to win. Right. They don't want, the whole. I became an activist in 2020, and I don't want to be an activist. I wanted to go back to being a dad and a father, but we had a cancer happening in our local county government, and you cannot just look the other way. But there's no opportunity in it, right? Mm-hmm. But there's so many people that want opportunity. So when we come with this raw 1776 or bust, freedom or bust message, they don't like it because they want some cash, right? And the other thing is this: President Trump, he'll take the fight to the gutters, but in response, he doesn't initiate the fight. When he smells a fight brewing, he goes right to the gutters, and he'll take it there and he'll fight it out at that level. Yeah. And why don't they like it? Because he wins the fight. Yes. So that's why they go out and say, oh, you got to simmer it down. You got to pour some water on it. It just be more practical. You can't win that way. It's because they're afraid.
But water it down for whom?
He's busting up the plans of the good old boys.
Yes.
He's busting up the plans of the establishment. Mm-hmm. And it's a spiritual thing, right? It's a control thing. And so they are losing control. They want big government because they want control. The root of all evil is money, and that's what it's all about. Most people out there, they are looking for an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. They are not necessarily looking to serve. And they forget that these representatives, you're representing the people. You're supposed to be serving the people. So this is what we find with President Trump. He doesn't need our money, right? He's not even taking a salary. He's there to serve. And so he's really setting the precedent for other people to step up and to get into these positions. But it is an uphill battle because we are fighting against those that are seeking to maintain power and control.
Okay. So one of the things I want to ask you ladies, you're both minorities.
Yes.
One of the things that we're told regularly is that the white leftist is the spokesperson for the minorities. And that if you are a constitutionalist, you don't go there. You stay in your lane, right?
Right.
So my question is, does the white leftist speak for you?
Absolutely not.
No.
They do not. First of all, who gave the white liberals, leftists, the voice to speak for me? President Biden said at the time that if you vote for President Trump, that you weren't black. I was black in 20, I'm black now, and I was black when President Trump were at his third term, and yes, he did win the 2020 election. The litmus test to me, if you're a constitutionalist, is to know that he did win that election. I worked for Harris County at the time, and I saw so much fraud even here in Harris County. He is a man of his word. If you look back over his policies, and a lot of people, like I said a moment ago, they don't like his straightforwardness, but I do, because he says what he means and he means what he says. And I put the analogy of like my 10th grade algebra teacher. I didn't like her. I did not like my 10th grade algebra teacher. She was stuck in the 50s. She had this bouffant hairstyle on, and she wore the same dress like she was stuck in the 50s. And if you would, when she took the roll, she would say yes, say yes. She would stop the whole class, making you repeat the words, say yes, for when she called the roll. But let me tell you something. My 10th grade algebra teacher, she taught me algebra. She turned the light on. It was a paradigm shift in my thinking. Did I like her? No, but I respected her because she knew her craft. She knew what she was doing. Same way with Donald Trump. He has the art of the deal. He puts the American people first. He doesn't, and no one comes before us, the illegal aliens that Biden let in here, the foreigners over from not in Afghanistan, Ukraine. He puts the American people ahead of all of that. And if we would just look at the policies and what the real issues are as opposed to your emotionalism and get down to the business at hand, then you will know that President Trump is for every American, not just the minorities. He's for every American.
I think the way chemistry works in the body for 99.9% of human beings is for people to get along. When you have a new neighbor move in next to you, you feel a sense of getting along. That's how peace and harmony happens. Yes. It's the natural state of mankind. But we are told that, nope, we're all uneducated, Neanderthals, right? We're all told that we're sort of these ingrates, and that we're, if not for the elected political class, we would be at each other's throats all the time. And my question for you is, are they instigating racial division for the purposes of their own political careers?
100%.
Absolutely.
It's always been about divide and conquer.
Yes.
I mean, it's the same plan of old, right? To pit one particular group against another. And they take these different things that happen, I guess, like in a news cycle, right? And they spin them in such a way to where it makes each group feel a certain type of way.
Yes.
And so they are constantly pitting Americans against one another. But if we look at everyday life, we work together, we play together, we fight together, we eat together. There's really no division. This division is something that they are creating. It is manufactured. It's not real. The reality is we get along. We get along. Just look at Fort Bend County. Fort Bend County is the most diverse county in Texas. We don't have a whole lot going on in Fort Bend County. We all get along. So I would encourage people to say, hey, turn the TV off. Take a look around. Look at reality. Look at what you're experiencing on an everyday basis. It's not what the TV tells you. Just because somebody is behind the screen and has a mic, that doesn't mean what they're saying is true. Think about it.
It's amazing the bond that is happening in Fort Bend. It is the most diverse county in the country. Yes. We have Pakistanis, we have Indians, we have Vietnamese, Chinese, we have our African American community, we have all these communities, and our county government intended to subjugate us. Yeah. They intended to put our racial differences to highlight them and then to use them against us.
Right.
And it backfired.
Yes.
And what's happening is we are standing arm in arm, hand in hand together against this nefarious leftist sick element.
Yes.
And it's a bonding experience that I cannot put into words. It's incredible.
I would like to challenge the American people as a whole, but specifically to the Christians. If the Christians are not in the political offices, then we leave it up to the demons to run the country. So we have an obligation and a duty to be in politics. Is it ugly? Yes. Can it be vicious? Yes. But if we don't, we will not save our republic. God gave us a chance when Donald Trump was reelected. We were this close to communism. We were this close. If Kamala would have gotten in, this would be a communist country.
Yes.
But they're banking on the fact that most Americans won't read. Do your due diligence. They can't get rid of everything that woman did when she was the governor. She put more minorities in prison than the law allows. But if we could get back to the basics, first, I'm a Christian first. That's my identity. That's where my worldview comes from. It's from a bibliocentric point of view. Then I'm an American. I love my country. If you don't love your country, no, I'm not going to dial it down. 1776, America all the way. Other countries love their countries. I love my country.
Yes.
Is it perfect? No. But it's the best country in the world. You see people fighting to get in here, none fighting to get out.
Right.
And then I happen to be black. That's my ethnicity. There's only one human race. It's only one race and it's human. We're all made in the imago Dei, the image of God.
Amen.
If we could get back to that, then we can see that most Americans, we have the same dreams, the same concepts, the same values. Family, faith, and freedom.
Yes.
Stand on those things. That is what the American First agenda is. That is what MAGA is standing for. And I want to challenge people to do your due diligence and don't listen to the lamestream news spouting a narrative. Look at your bank account. Look at the money you spend for your family.
Yeah.
You have to look at the reality. And when you do that, you will come over to the conservative side because most minorities are conservative anyway.
There are two types of people that are running for local office today. We're having a huge upheaval in our political system, and that presents opportunity. And gosh darn it, it better be us liberty lovers out there going for these positions, because there are two types of people that are going for these positions. Number one is authentic liberty lovers like us. They're going in for astute reasons. They're oftentimes retired executives. They've made their money, and they're going there with a sense of community. Yeah. Then there's the second type, and they are the opportunists.
Yeah.
And they are going there for political opportunity, okay? And so that is why it's on everybody to get involved at the local level, because of two things. Number one, these opportunists, there is a good chance that if we get in there and we keep an eye on them, we actually keep them straight.
Yes.
Okay? But they're going to test us. The second thing is government needs to return to a civic duty. We need to get away from these bloated bloated contracts.
Yeah.
All of these services that they're rendering, it needs to go away. It needs to be brought down to its essential services, libertarian style, and then you get all the money out of it, and then we volunteer. Each one of us puts up a 2-year term for whatever political office. That's how it should work.
Yes, 100%.
Yes, speaking of the opportunists, for example, Jasmine Crockett, you know, if you look at her history, she went to law school. She comes from a very affluent family. She had the best, before she went to law school, she was in the best finishing schools in Texas. And now she's promoting this narrative that she's from the hood. She didn't make it through law school with that hood mentality or speaking using profanity. She's playing a part. And if you notice people on the left, they normally play a part. Why does she have a $22 million property? That's not the type of money that people, state representatives, make. Look at who and what she is. I'm not talking about her because she's a black woman. I don't care about the color of her skin, but I do care about the content of her character. And what I see, she puts her constituents last, and she's just playing a role, just same like AOC. But she does have someone, Mr. Sheldon, that's going to be running against her, and I'm glad to see him. He's a conservative, and he's going to give her a run for her money.
Well,
I agree.
Yeah. In my opening monologue, I talked about the decline of our urban neighborhoods, right? And so they do it through a number of ways. Number one, they deteriorate our currency. Yes. They make every dollar bill in your wall less valuable, right?
Yes.
It's a constant erosion of our urban neighborhoods. When we were children, I was born in the 70s. And the industrial flight, the initiation of the Rust Belt happened when I was in my formative years. It had an impact on my psyche, everything, because you lose confidence in industry. Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to say is that, but in our urban neighborhoods, you know, they deteriorate the currency and they deteriorate the economy. They shift the jobs overseas, and then our people turn to crime. They flood us with all these bad education. They flood us with fentanyl.
Yes.
Is this an orchestrated plan?
100%.
It is.
And when you get someone into a position, you talked about the opportunist. When you get people into a position and they're there strictly for the opportunity, strictly there for the money, they're able to be controlled by that. And so you have what I call wickedness in high places who have these agendas. It's easy to push these agendas through these people because they don't want to lose their opportunity. They don't want to lose their payday, which is going back to what you were saying, a call to action, at the local level for Christians to be involved. We are supposed to be the light and the salt of the earth, correct?
Correct.
So light, if I turn on a light in here, you're not going to really see it. It's light in here already, right? Mm-hmm. What better a place to be than in the dark world of politics? We have to shine the light on the darkness, right?
Yes.
It doesn't comprehend us, but we can overtake it.
Yes.
If we would be involved at the local level.
Crime requires darkness.
Yes.
Light is the only solution.
Yes.
But tell me about when you were a child. Did you have the same experience as me? Were your neighborhoods good, or were they? Were they back then compared to today?
Night and day. Night and day.
Yes. When I grew up, you could play in the neighborhood, ride your bike.
Yes.
If you were on the wrong street, one of the neighbors would call your mother and say, your child is over here, come get them, or I'm going to send them back home.
Yes.
And so they could spank you, and then you would get a spanking when you got home from your parents for being on the wrong street.
Yeah.
And you played till the lights came on, and then you went in the house. I love the time that I grew up in. I felt safe. I felt American pride.
Yeah.
No one was telling you you should be ashamed to be an American, which is ridiculous. It's a totally different time that we live in now. And I actually feel sorry for the children in a lot of ways because they're bombarded with social media, with all the negativity of their image and how they look and
Yes.
things like all these superficial things. But, there was a generation that is unchurched. It's a generation that they've left God out. And if you go to the left, they leave God out. They believe in money, power, and control.
Yeah.
On the right, we believe in faith, family, and freedom, and
Yes.
God.
Right.
When you take God out of the equation, then you have the lawlessness. You have the people that don't have moral values, and you see the decline in society. You
Right.
cannot take God out of the equation. When you do, He'll allow you, because we're free will. We can make that choice, but it's a bad choice to make.
Yes.
And the left, they never want to have anything to say about God. President Trump, they were praying at one of his meetings the other day. Every Republican function that I go to, we have prayer.
Yes.
We believe in God. We believe in family. And that is how we're going to get our country back to where it was and to
Yes.
make America great again, by embracing the family and the family values, and to look to God, because He's bigger than we are.
Yes,
When a
indeed.
man is left to themselves, they will devour themselves, because within yourself, there is no light.
Right.
You need the light of Jesus Christ, in my opinion,
Yes.
to shed the light on that.
Right.
And He's the only hope that we have.
Amen. And we see the backbone of any community is the family, and we've kind of lost that. And is that the streets are unsafe. Now, when I was coming up, like Julie said, we went outside, and they really didn't have to worry about us, right? We weren't trying to go back inside because we might have to stay there, We didn't go
Right.
back in until the street lights came on. My children, I have 2 sons, they didn't get that same experience. And my heart did break because, you do lose that kind of sense of community, neighborhood. They didn't really get to grow up with their neighborhood friends. I could think back to my neighborhood friends that we played dodgeball with, 2 square, 4 square, and we're still friends to this day. And so that, like you said, they're left to be inside because it is unsafe, and they're left with these gadgets.
Yes.
So it's, I would love to get back to that time when we grew up, where there was strong families, there was strong communities, right?
Right.
And that goes back to, you said, our underlying faith in God, getting back to those morals and values.
Yes.
And I think that one of the things that we tend to do is we sort of mock our youth, because they were brought up in this woke era.
Yeah.
They were brought up on the largely influenced by these leftist values, which are corrupting. And we sort of mock them for it, but don't we actually have a bit of ownership in that? Because it happened on our watch. We were the adults.
Yeah, we were the adults. I think that a lot of people just were ignorant in a lot of ways. We put a lot of trust into things that we grew up trusting. You know, TV is not the same TV that we grew up on back then. The radio, the music is not the same music that we grew up back. The cartoons, you know what I'm saying? It's like things that the educational system, right? It's not the same education that they are getting now. And so I believe that we, I guess, ignorantly just kind of put our trust into these different world systems, and we should not have. We should have been more involved on every level to understand what our children are learning, what they're listening to, what they're watching, what they're reading. Because if we really knew what was going on, I'm sure the antennas would have been up, like, you know, the alarm would be sounding like something is wrong with this. And so I think at some point, yes, we did drop the ball. And now it's time to pick up that ball. And now is the time.
You know, the ball was dropped, you know, back like when you were talking about Lyndon Baines Johnson. You know, it dropped then. The American black families specifically were told, like you said, if you get the father out of the home, we'll give you a check, we'll become your husband. Yeah. It was the biggest lie. It was the biggest detriment that has been done to the black family, and not only to black families, but to other poor families that may have been in that tax bracket. Take the father out of the home. Other ethnicities were told to keep the father in the home, because the home is where there's a father and a mother and the children. That's God's design. Yeah. Male and female, he made them. So when you take the father out of the home, and now men have been dumbed down and told that you're too masculine, you know, to be a woman. If you're both the same, one is unnecessary. Right. I like a man to act like a man. I'm the woman, I will act like a woman, and you be the man, you act like a man. Yeah. We don't need, if you have two of the same, one is unnecessary. So that began the breakdown of the family. Then it went into the women's liberation, and I don't need a man. I can do it all by myself. I can raise the child by myself that I had out of wedlock. If you put two people from two separate races, black and white, black and black, any ethnicity, if they're both educated, if they both get a college degree, if they both don't have children out of wedlock, wait until they get married, they have a greater chance of fulfilling the American dream as anyone else does. Right. It's when you have children out of wedlock, when you're not married, when you don't have the biblical values of Scripture, that's when the problem comes in. So when you have these latchkey kids left at home, like it was before, then they're left to their own devices. And children need to be in a structured environment. They have to be watched. They have to be taught. And you can't leave them to a device. But when the COVID happened, it was a big eye-opener. Yeah. Everybody saw, you got to see what your kids were actually learning. Yes. And it was horrible. They're teaching children, they're indoctrinating the children. And on most of these Democrat-ran cities, you see that the children cannot even read on grade level. But then the superintendents are making $750,000 a year up north somewhere. I forgot who she was. But when the children can't read, that's a problem. Yes. So where are the parents? You can't just try to make to buy the second house, the second car. The children are a gift from God. You have to teach the children. So that means someone has to be home. So that means President Trump wants to get back to where we can make a livable wage where one parent can actually stay home if they want to, so we can raise the children, as opposed to having both people out trying to make ends meet because you can't make it on one income. That's the American dream that we need to get back to, and then you can get the families back together. That's why I was against Black Lives Matter as an organization, not as in the concept, but in the organization, because they were founded by two two lesbian women that said, we want to push the LGBTQ community and get rid of the nuclear family. They came out and they actually said it. They took it down after a while because people started reading and like, why get rid of the nuclear family?
Right.
When you get rid of the nuclear family, you're getting rid of the neighborhood, you're getting rid of the community, the society. Eventually, you will have no country. You need that nuclear family to survive.
And I just want to say one more thing about dropping the ball. We were always told two things you don't talk about, and that's God and politics. Those were two of the main things that we should have been talking about because
Yes.
they're both intertwined.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, so we are uncovering a sophisticated evil plan, brilliant
Yes.
and evil, where, as you said, Black Lives Matter came clean and said we want to dismantle the family unit. Then they pulled it back when they got exposed, but we knew they wanted to dismantle the unit.
Yes.
They have a specific attack on the man-woman relationship.
Yes.
Yes.
As I stated earlier, they deteriorate our currency through overprinting.
Yeah.
They created an exodus of American industry. They pull fathers out of the home. This is evil brilliance. My question for you is, who is this evil genius that's putting this plan in place?
It's the establishment.
Yeah.
It's the Washington, D.C. swamp, as they call us conspiracy theorists, but everything that President Trump has said and most of the real Republicans have said, it's true. President Biden, it wasn't just him, though. He was the puppet. But the people behind him, who I believe was Obama, who was running the country, because all of those auto signs that he did, he was not signing those documents. It was
Right.
auto sign.
Yeah, he was out of there.
That's who was in control. To let in 20 plus million illegal aliens. And I think we need to get back to calling things as they really are, not this catchphrase and this politically correct wording. When you start to change the meaning of words, you change what things actually mean. If you're an illegal alien, if you came here and you did not come through the front door like my son-in-law did. He came from Africa. He is an American citizen. He got his citizenship finally last year. He's an American citizen, and he voted for Trump. Now, he hears me spewing my political beliefs all the time, but he said, Ma, you're right. He is for America, so I'm going to vote for him. My family is historically Republican. I believe because Republicans believe in faith, family, and freedom. And what Biden did to the American people, he let in 20 million plus illegal aliens from all around the world unvetted, unleashed them on the American people. No one is that ignorant. No one is that uneducated. He knew exactly what he was doing. It was to change the demographic of the country and to bring in a voting bloc, a new voting bloc, because they've used up the middle class and we're a little bit too smart to fall for their tricks anymore. So they had to bring in a new voting bloc. And it was to change the demographic of America from within for us to implode from within. So it was a strategic design to dismantle the family, to change the demographic, to get us back into the home like they had with COVID, to control us. The middle class cannot be controlled. You, like us, we're sitting here. We are awake. We're not woke, but we are awake.
Yes.
We're not fooled by about the narrative. We can look at our own world experiences and see what we've been living through.
Right.
And we were better when President Trump was in office in 2020. We're better off now. And it's only going to get better, but we have to have people to wake up and to look at the facts, not through their emotions.
Yeah, it's been very strategic. We are looking at wickedness in high places.
Yes.
We are looking at psychological warfare.
Yes.
Right? And that has been perpetuated by our own government.
Yes.
And dare I say other governments of a foreign lands, right? That have been working together. I guess you would call them the globalists.
Yes.
Okay?
And the CCP.
Yes. And we have been targeted. We've been targeted across the board. Unfortunately, the minority community has been hardest hit by all of these things,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because we were one of it. I guess in essence, I hate to use the word test dummy, but they kind of carried out their experiment on us first, and then you see them slowly rolling this out to the rest of the American people. So yes, unless we do get up and take a stand, this country will not be what we knew it to be when we grew up. So
Yeah, it's my opinion that they went after the minority community because Black Americans had a strong family unit.
yes,
They had just gotten out of slavery, and they had a voracious appetite for learning and skill development, and they were acclimating at a rapid pace.
Yeah.
But their sea legs still weren't planted because they had been starved of an education for a century.
right,
And so I feel like they were the first prey.
yes,
But at the same time, I will say that the white Americans are closely behind them.
yes,
But that's why I think that they went after the minority communities first, and it's evil. And Lyndon Baines Johnson was a central player in that scheme.
it is very evil because what they did, they stopped. They intercepted the assimilation, the full assimilation of descendants of slaves into American culture. Because America is a culture, right? All of these different countries, we have a culture. Ours is founded on Christ, right? That faith, family, and freedom. And that's what really we are at war with. It's a culture war, and you have that battle between the light and the darkness, between good and evil.
And you know, so did Margaret Sanger, who was the creator of Planned Parenthood. She strategically went into the Black neighborhoods and had Planned Parenthood centers placed in those neighborhoods because she thought that Black people were weeds.
Yeah.
She wanted to get rid of them. And so she strategically went into the Black neighborhoods, and she also incorporated some Black pastors to help her bring about getting rid of Black babies. And Hillary Clinton said that Margaret Sanger was one of her heroes. Goes back to the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has always been against the minority.
Yes.
It's always been the Republican Party that has gone into to help the Blacks, to abolish slavery, to have Black people get the right to vote. They have been proponents of minorities. But if you listen to just one side of the news cycle, they keep that narrative going to pit us against each other.
Right.
And it is by design. It's not happenstance. And like my sister keeps saying, Sean, it is spiritual.
Yeah.
So it's more than just what meets the eye. But most minorities are conservative. They just don't know it because they've been taught that Republican is bad, Democrat is good. But if you look at the history and read your history, they used to say, Sean, that if you want a Black person not to know something, put it in a book, they won't read it.
Yeah.
My mom made us read.
Yes.
I love to read. My daughter does too. I raised her up. She ended up getting a full ride scholarship to Arkansas State, and she was the student athlete of the year twice. Dean's
What
List
sport?
Basketball. Dean's List, Chancellor's List. I put that same work hard ethic in her that I saw my mother model. My mother we came here from Louisiana, and my mother refused to be on welfare. My aunts were, but my mother refused. I saw her walk to get a job.
Yeah.
That when you see someone do that type of thing, it puts something in you to say, I have to be better.
Yeah.
No one owes me anything. If you want something, you work for it. America is the place to get that done.
Yes.
But if we don't stick to those values, it could be taken away. And like I said a moment ago, we were this close to losing our republic.
Yes.
The people are in charge, but if you don't know that you're in charge, you let the elected officials tell you what to do and tell you that it's good for you when it's not.
It is diabolical what
It
they
is.
did to the Black community.
It is.
And we were targeted, and they used the pastors and leaders. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
These opportunists, they put them in place, and they manipulated the minds of many in the Black community.
I mean, what about the abortions in the Black community?
Yes.
There are more Black babies that are aborted, that are killed,
Yes.
than that are born.
Yes.
That is a genocide.
Yeah,
that
it
is
is.
a travesty of epic proportions.
It is.
Of
Yes.
that is a Holocaust happening on our watch.
Yes. In real time.
I mean,
And the pastors won't speak out about it.
No.
How does this exist?
It exists because the left feels that it's their right to abort an unborn child, but it's murder. And they feel like, if it's a woman's right, what about the child in the womb? What about her right?
Yeah.
What about his right? And that child was created in the image of God as well. It's still another scheme to dismantle the family.
Right.
If I can get rid of the children, I can get rid of the family. If I can get the father out of the home, I can get rid of the nuclear family. It is by design, but it is a spiritual warfare because God designed marriage. God designed people, the human race, to procreate and to multiply. And that still is good today. When you see the family intact, you have better communities, better societies, a better world. So that is what the scheme is, to dismantle the family. America was built on biblical principles. Those men that wrote the Constitution, I believe in the Constitution as written. It was written so that America is an idea for you to pursue your happiness, but it's up to you to pursue it. But the opportunity is here. No one is going to put it in your lap. You have to go out and get it, but this is the best place to do that.
Right.
But if you are blinded by people trying to get rid of your race while they're telling you that they're for you, then you'll miss the point. But if you just look at what has been done to not only to the black family, but to other ethnic groups as well. Poor people, if you look at what's been done to them, it's by design. It is always from the left. Look at all the Democrat-ran cities. Look at the Democrat governors. Look at the Democrat mayors. All those cities where they're in charge, it is horrible.
Yeah. You asked, how could this happen?
Yeah, because
right?
you said that the pastors won't even talk about it.
No.
How does this travesty exist in our midst?
And then how do people accept it, right?
Yes.
So if you can get society dumbed down enough, right,
yes,
to devalue human life, okay, across the board, if you put these types of concepts or ideologies into the music, you put it into the educational system, you put it into media, the entertainment, right, to where people, they question even when does life begin. You understand? And so the pastors a lot of times are complacent. They don't want their 501c3 money taken, okay?
That's the problem.
And also, they are a
it.
part of the problem because they are having children out of wedlock, basically to cover their sins. It's hard to speak out against something that you are involved in.
And then, like how you said about the 501c3, that's really the issue. But if you're the church and you're under the 501c3, who are you believing in, the government or Almighty God? Which one is it?
Well, that's the
because they
thing.
can take the 501c3.
Right.
If you're standing on the Word of God
Right.
and the biblical principles that you say that you believe in, that you preach every week,
Right.
you would not be afraid of having that 501c3 because
Right.
we're not taking from you. We're not looking to the government
Right.
to give us an easy way. The constituents of the church, the members will still give to the church and the
Yes.
church will survive. But you can't have it both ways. And that's what they've done far too long.
And I think it's it's important to make it clear that it's all coming from the left. It's all coming from the Democrat
It is.
Party. They are the ones that are pushing these ideals. They are anti-God.
Yes.
They want to be God. They want to be daddy. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Whereas on the right, this is a side of freedom.
Yes.
We put our faith in the God.
Yes.
Right? So this is what we are at war with.
One of the things is before we got into this great awakening that we're in right now, in my younger years, it was coming from the black community where they would say, it's the man. The man is keeping us down. And no, I'm gonna
Yes.
agree with that statement. But back then, we all thought you're just making excuses.
Yes.
You just need to work harder.
The boogeyman.
And today I stand largely corrected.
Yeah.
They had it figured out. We are right now systematically dismantling every single foundational item that was used against us, from the manipulation of currencies to the exodus of industry, so on and so forth,
Yes.
to the demoralization of our people. And was too much.
Yeah.
They had the winning card. They had us in a pinch, and it was the black community saying, you guys don't get it. It's the man. The man is keeping us down, and we didn't believe him. And here we are today now knowing that they absolutely, that community had it figured out before anyone else.
Well, let me piggyback on that real quick, too.
Yeah, because they really didn't know who the man was. They knew that
Right.
something was happening, but they didn't know where it was coming from.
Right.
It was coming from the man that they were voting for.
Right. And you know what? You're so right about that, because I heard that coming up as well. But my mother has been a Republican. She's 88 years old. She's been a Republican all my life. She would tell me when the Democrats would come to our local church and say she said they come every 2 years, every 4 years to get the vote, and nothing changes.
Right.
She said, don't ever just listen to what someone says, look at what they do. And so that's why I came up being Republican. I'm like, well, this is closer to my values, not just because it's Republican or be different, closer to my values. So that's why I vote Republican. It's America first. But when you look at the fact, I heard that saying all my life, the man, the man, the man. My mother would not let us use that excuse. There's a lot of truth to that. It is. But on the flip side of that, if you use that as an excuse not to do anything, then you're in this state of victimhood.
Yes.
I'm not a victim. I have a nephew that makes 6 figures, and he told me I was oppressed. I said, oppressed how? How am I oppressed? Because I'm black? No, that's ridiculous. I don't believe in that.
Yes.
But when President Trump was, the warfare that was led against him, that opened up more eyes, and that showed you who the man really was. They're not only to keep you down economically, but in the judicial system as well. That's why we have the 3 branches of government, because when a man is left to his own devices, power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you need the checks and balances of the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. But although we have we're in the majority in all these branches of government, we're still not getting what we need to get done. President Trump can't do it all. We have to help him.
Right.
It needs to be American Republicans that will get into the fight and say, you're not going to take my country, not on my watch.
Yeah.
This is a representative republic, and we will die before we let you. You'll have to take it out of our cold, dead hands.
I totally agree. And it takes 2 to tango, right? So even though the man, was doing certain things, you don't have to accept what they are trying to feed you.
Absolutely.
You don't have to accept what they are serving you to drink.
Absolutely.
So my father, he was a hard man, right? And he didn't want my mom to work. She took some odd jobs here and there just because she wanted her own money. But he would work 2-3 jobs before he let any man take care of his family. You understand? And I think somewhere along the way, men lost that.
Well, when you've been demonized and pushed down and told that you're, like they talk about, if you look at the man and the way the man is presented now on TV, he's like the dumbest person in the room. I think that is horrible.
That's intentional.
It's intentional so you can emasculate the man, because when you go back to the biblical principle, the man is the leader of the home.
Yeah.
That is not, you don't believe in women. It has nothing to do with that. God created marriage, male and female. He created them, and they have different functions.
Right, they have different roles.
It's not, different roles.
And there's an order.
And there's an order to that function. So it's not that the man is greater than the woman, but God put him in the leadership role in the home. Then it's the mother, then it's the children. When you get out of that dynamic, then the whole rhythm is messed up.
Yes, it is.
So if you get back to those foundational principles that this country was founded upon, then you will see a reemergence of the man so that you can be the leader in the home. Bring the jobs back from manufacturing so that you can have the minorities be able to take care of their families and not sire these children and leave them.
Yes.
They need the man in the home.
Amen.
My background is criminal justice. That's what my undergrad is in. I love law. I love what it does and what it does not do. The recidivism rate is so high because a lot of people don't have jobs. It's not an excuse to steal,
Right.
but you need to have the jobs brought back to America so that people can work and have pride in working, like blacks did a long time ago. You know, in the 60s and during the civil rights time, they worked, and that time also blacks were one of the highest. The marriage rate in the black community was skyrocketing.
Yeah.
When they bought into the lie of LBJ and took the man out of the home, that was
Right.
the beginning demise
Right.
on the black family. And it's not just the black family. We have to open it up to all ethnicities, because what the left wants us to do is to be divided on race.
Yeah.
I refuse to be divided on race.
Right.
I don't care what color you are. If you're an American, I am for you. I'm even for the LGBTQ Americans, for their right to exist and to live. I don't want anybody bombing them or hurting them. God even gives them that choice to make the choices that they do. I don't agree with it, but I respect them as a human being. If we can get to that level, then we can do some things in this country that we've never seen, because that's back at the root of it, to put Americans first and to have those values throughout the land, and then everybody benefits when the family is strong.
Jude, I just want to piggyback real quick on the order, right?
Yes.
So Adam, he was created in the image of God. Eve was formed from a rib of Adam.
Yes.
You understand?
Woe
the
man.
order was, the woe man. The order was set from the very beginning. So it's the man's responsibility to cover the wife and the children.
Yes.
To take care of the family. And so I think it's just time for men to get back into position and don't apologize for being who God created you to be.
Right.
Yeah, you are the leader.
You
That's
are the
okay.
leader. It is.
And we have different roles. We're not less important, but we do have those roles, and that was by his design.
Right. And quite frankly, I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know, I like to see a man be a man. I don't
Yeah.
want you to be trying to be this half man, half woman.
I don't want you
are
in the mirror
a
longer
man.
than me.
I am a woman. I don't have to try to act like a woman. It's just who I am. And you know, when you see people that's not a woman trying to act like they stick out like a sore thumb. You're not. That's not who God made you to be.
Yeah.
So quite frankly, I'm tired. We need men. We need men in the arena. We need them to come and save their families. We
Yes.
need them to step up and be the man that God has called you to be.
Amen.
I think that you exposed another targeted attack on our people, right? By the way,
Yes.
I'd like to make a point. I quit referring to people of different races as their race. I refer to us as our people.
Yeah.
Our
Yes.
people.
Amen.
And the political class hates that, okay? But getting back to our people, you have exposed one of their evil, brilliant surgical strikes on our people. And what I mean by that is you eloquently explained all of the needs of a man in the household, all the roles that he plays.
Yes.
He is the foundation of the home. They removed him.
Yes.
They removed him. And think about how many lives were hurt, how many young children were hurt.
Yes.
Think about how many young boys went to the life of crime because they didn't have a father in the house instructing them on how to do things. It's a travesty. And my heart breaks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when I hear of these stories of young men, you know, they rob a store and they get shot and killed in the process. And we celebrate the use of the gun in defense of the store owner, the use of the gun in defense of the victim of the crime. We celebrate that rightly. But at the same time, yes, it's okay to have remorse for that criminal.
Right.
Because that criminal at one point in time, because of this targeted attack by the left on the family unit,
Yes.
that criminal didn't have a father.
Right.
That criminal didn't have a proper job that could have easily been gone to. The economy was taken out from underneath him.
Yes.
And so as a result, he began to make bad decisions. And little decisions then become big decisions.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you see a mother there crying because her son is shot. And my heart breaks.
Mine as well.
80% of the people in prison, especially men, is because they did not have a father in the home. It's a simple statistic that no one wants to talk about. It's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
When you remove the man from the home, it is going to suffer. Yes, I ended up raising my daughter. I was married when I had my daughter. I had to wait 2 years to have her. My husband at the time did not want to have children right away, so I had to wait 2 years. It was the longest 2 years of my life. And after the first year, I go, well, can we start our family? He goes, well, what was the agreement, Julie? I said, 2 years. He said, one more year. So I always tell my daughter, if anybody was ever wanted, it was you. I had to wait 2 long years to even have you. But I said that to say this. When you have children and when you bring them into the world, it is your responsibility to shape them and to grow them up in the way that they should go. That's another biblical principle.
Right.
You need the father in the home so that they can know what a man looks like,
Yeah.
how a man should treat a woman. And if
Yes.
that's not the case, then you have to remove yourself from that situation. But it is vitally important for the family to be intact. And if you can get rid of the family, there goes society.
Correct. And I like you, my heart does break for that criminal, right? Like you said, I believe in law and order, and for people to definitely be held accountable for their actions. But when it does end in that death, that's final, right? That's it for that child. No one can tell me that these children come here and their desire is to grow up and live a life of crime or be strung out on drugs, you understand, or become a rapist.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that they are a product of their environment. They're left uncovered. So what does a predator do? It seeks out those that are
Weakest.
most vulnerable. Who are the most vulnerable? There are our children. If they are left uncovered, right? If they're just out roaming the streets, nobody's looking after them, the enemy can come in and he can do all sorts of things to these kids. Things that they take with them into their adulthood, and some of them never get over it.
And that's where the school system has come in and said, you know what? When you come to school, instead of teaching you reading, math, and arithmetic, as we used to call it, mathematics, we're going to teach you, we're going to indoctrinate you and tell you that if you're Sam, you can be Samantha. If you're Julie, you can be Julian. That is what they've been teaching our children. Like I said, COVID unleashed all that, and we found out what they were being taught, and that's what they've been taught, indoctrination, not the basics, and that's why they cannot read. And it is a travesty. It is horrible what has been done to our children under the school boards, under leftist
school boards, Democrat policies.
Yes.
That's where all this is coming from.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah, we have to make that clear.
We have to make that clear.
Yeah.
And President Trump dismantling the Department of Education, it was the right thing to do. Let's send it back to the states.
Yes.
Because here in Texas, we know what our kids need in Texas.
Yes.
We do need school choice.
Right.
And the people that don't want school choice on the left, again, they send their children to private schools while your children go to the public school, and then they can't read. And then they tell you that math is racist. No, keep telling your child 2 + 2 = 5.
Right.
Or 2 + 2 = 3 instead of what it really equals. Then I can cheat you because you can't read and you can't do math.
Right.
It's still to keep you dumbed down so I can control you.
Right.
When you're educated, the most scary thing to a leftist Democrat is a sober, thinking for themselves, not only black people, but a black man. If you get him like that, 100%. They are afraid of him.
100%. Now they will tolerate the black woman, right?
Yeah, they'll tolerate
They'll tolerate the black woman. They'll even give her promotion after promotion.
A little
right?
bit, not
right?
us though. Yeah, they don't like us too much because we're so conservative.
Not us, but the black man.
Oh yeah.
No.
He immediately loses the victim card and he attains the race card
Yes.
in a second.
In a second.
Okay, the one thing I like about this conversation is that we have the courage to not pretend that this orchestrated attack on us was anything less than that, right? Everyone wants to say, it was just happenstance, it just happened, it's coincidences, it's just bad decisions. And in this conversation, no, it's evil genius. They did it on purpose, they did it with a specific goal. I appreciate that. Okay, but one of the things, one of you ladies mentioned the COVID shutdowns, okay? And it is my belief that they were going for the kill
Oh, yeah.
in that COVID shutdown, right?
100%.
Because what they intended to do was keep us locked. President Trump did Operation Warp Speed to introduce the vaccine. He gets a lot of flack for that. I understand why. But at the same time, if he didn't introduce that vaccine,
It's
they
what the
intended
people wanted.
they intended it for us to be in those homes for 5 or 10 years.
Yes.
To the point where we're taking ourselves out, right?
Yes.
The second thing they wanted to do was they wanted to red flag law us.
Yes.
So they could come in, kill us while they're taking our guns.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? And then finally, when they come up with their own vaccine that was probably the lethality would be off the charts, they do forced injections on us or send us to camps if not that, right?
Exactly.
Do I have this right or not? I mean, again, what do police investigators do? They lay out all the facts. They look at the suspicions. They look at who has a vested interest in the crime happening, and they develop their theory.
Right.
And that's the theory that I keep coming to. What do you think?
I think you're 100%. It's not far-fetched because we are fighting against an extreme, evil, wicked element within our government. One that is responsible for these targeted attacks. One that is responsible for human trafficking.
Yes.
Right? Drug trafficking, sex trafficking. You know what I'm saying? And it all goes back to the love of money, which is the root of all evil. So, of course, it's not far-fetched. So if you have a country that is a free country, still, we are a republic. We're not a democracy. I hate when people say that. We are a constitutional republic. When you have the people that are beginning to awaken, oh, no, we can't have that. We have to find a way to shut them down. We have to find a way to get rid of these, dare I say, Christians.
Yes.
We see it happening in other countries, right? But they have to be strategic about how they do it to us, because guess what? We have guns.
Yes.
We can protect ourselves.
Yeah, thank God for the Second
if I was an
Amendment.
evil genius, I would come up with this plan to where I can get everybody in their homes locked down. They can't communicate with each other. They can't see each other. If one goes in the hospital, you can't go to the hospital to advocate on their behalf. You got your veterans. You got, just lock them in their homes. Let's do the fear campaign. Everybody's masked, and it would give them the opportunity to set all these laws into place and then perpetuate a genocide of the American people and take over.
That's so true. That's what terrorism is. It's to strike fear into you,
Right.
to get you to control you and to get you to do exactly what we say, what is best for you.
Right.
So I'm going to lock you down in your homes. If you don't take the shot, then you're going to kill your grandbaby or you're going to kill grandmother.
Yes.
And you're not an American.
Yes.
Never talked about natural immunity, which we all have, that God gave us.
Yes.
Never talked about that.
Right.
And you were crazy if you said you didn't want to take the shot. Most of my family didn't take it, but my
didn't take
rheumatologist
it.
swore you just have to take it. You have to take it. So, and then you can't sue them if you have an adverse effect, which is crazy as well. But there's a documentary called "Died Suddenly." It's a wonderful documentary, and it goes and it shows how that shot strategically was set up to take a lot of the population out, and that's what it was for. It was created in the Wuhan lab. The mRNA had been around for a long time, but when they added that spike protein, that is what made the COVID-19 so deadly.
Yes.
All of this was by design.
Yes.
If you look at the Gates of the world, they buy up all this farmland because they want to be able to control the masses. You control the food, you can control the masses.
Right.
And so they wanted to depopulate. And they still want to do it.
Yes.
So that's why, grow your groceries, be informed, and don't just listen to people tell you what you're supposed to think. We're free thinkers. You can't
Yes.
tell me that I have to be a Democrat because I'm black.
Right.
Like I said, I'm a Christian first. That's an American that happens to be black. That's my ethnicity. But I don't lead with that because that's
Right.
not all of who I am.
Amen.
And if we get back to that basics, then we can come together as a country because we do still have a country to save. They have not gone away. They want to still put us back in our homes because if I put you in your home, I can control you.
Yes.
And we do have the Second Amendment. That's why every chance they get, every time it's a shooting, let's take the guns. It's not the gun. The gun is an inanimate object. The gun is something that can be used. It's a tool, just like the internet. You don't tell people not to use the internet because there's pornography on it. People do use it for that, and they shouldn't. But it doesn't mean that the whole internet is bad. Guns are not bad. It's in the hand of a criminal, which is it is bad when it becomes bad.
Right.
But the gun itself is not. So if you take the guns away, they'll be able to control you like they do in Australia. My daughter plays pro ball there, and she said, Mom, they don't have any guns. And when COVID was out, they had robotic dogs walking around telling the people to get back in the house.
And they were dragging people from their
and
homes.
dragging you from home. Yes.
Yeah.
They were pulling children out of a father's arms and holding the child down to vaccinate.
Yes.
There was a video of a pregnant woman being pulled by her body because she critiqued a local politician.
Yes.
Yeah.
These
And a lot of people
lost
lost babies when they got that shot. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, the shot, it's so many different adverse effects of the shot. There was a lot of miscarriages. A lot of, just spontaneous miscarriages from the shot. All the heart disease, all these athletes in top form. Why are you having heart attacks?
Young people.
On NFL.
Young people.
Yeah, and they're top
in the
form.
best of, the
Yes,
best
so
of health.
you have to be able to have the choice. Do I want the shot or not? That's what an American is. We have choices. I shouldn't have to drive an electric vehicle if I don't want to. I love Elon Musk. He's doing a great job with those. But I don't like electric vehicles. If there's a storm in Texas, I need to be able to put some gas in my car and drive out of here.
Right.
And you do that by having choices.
Yeah.
That's what America was founded on, choices and ideals, and to
Yes.
pursue happiness to the best of your ability. No one owes you anything, but you have the opportunity. That's why I don't like DEI.
Right.
You can't make everybody equal. I
Didn't
believe in
earn it.
meritocracy.
Didn't earn it.
You didn't earn it. Meritocracy, earn it on your merit, on what you've done to deserve that position or whatever it is. We don't need DEI also because we have the 1965 Civil Rights Act. You're being redundant. That's just another scheme to get more money, and then they just use it for themselves to make themselves richer, and it never helps the people that it's supposed to help.
Right.
Well, ladies, I could go on all day. I have other questions I want to ask,
Okay.
but we're at the end, so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah, that hour went by very fast.
Very quick.
Yeah.
But thank you both for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Sean Scott with Urban Conservatives of America.
Yes, sir.
And Julie Hunt with Urban Conservatives of America.
Yes, and I just want to put in a shameless plug. You can reach out to us at uca.us.org. Follow us. We are on the ground. We are grassroots, and we are about educating the community. They want a dumbing down of the community. They've done a good job of it. It's our job to share the truth. We need an educating voting base so we can get the right people in office.
Yes.
Alrighty, guys, ladies, thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you so
it.
much. Thanks for having us, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And tune in next week, same time on Radio FM 99.5 Dabang for the